right, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We're gonna do something. We're gonna do this a little different because there's a little bit more to talk about than just the LCS. Although the LCS is tied into some of this, but I want to get into the goings on. We talked a little bit about it last week with the gold revaluation, and I have a more thought out, or I have thought more about how this agenda is rolling out and what it might actually mean. But as we go through that, LCS pickups this week, share those as we go into it. Get this bag out of the way. Keeping it simple. Got a few Philharmonics, and I got another SNS round. I love these things. If you're familiar with the old strategic stockpile rounds that were made after the government sold off all their silver, are they going to sell off all their gold? So I'm working on my second tube of these. If I could just focus on them, I could probably get a tube this year. But I'm not doing that. That's not the plan. And they got to have them available at the LCS to pick them up. But I always love getting these. Who was it talking about these a while back? And I was like, yep, I just picked one up. I picked another one up. One at a time, slowly but surely. And some Philharmonics. What? 2021. I think that's the newest ones I've gotten. For the Philharmonics. For Gov. Got an empty tube to put some stuff into. And got a little bit of 90%, quarters and $50 as part of the plan. Shout out to West Texas Stacker, was talking about constitutional and what your favorite is, and he's like, it's Franklin's all the way. I shared with him the video we did a few years back, quite a few years back. Did the video on Franklin's being my favorite. So got a couple of those along with this, trying to finish off this tube of Kennedy's, this tube of Franklin's, and I got a tube of quarters, trying to finish that off as well. And our 9% is getting pretty topped off for the year already. I think we're like halfway. But anyway, so LCS pickups, always a good time to go in there and talk to the people. And this is, I would say, this is the first, well, maybe not the first time. It's the first time it's been significant enough to really talk about what is going on in particular, the gold market has hit what's going on at the LCS. Notable impact. They're like, people are acting crazy. People have acted crazy in the past. It's not like this is the first time, but it was notable that people are swiping up gold like it's going out of style. They're like, people have lost their minds, basically is what they're saying. And they were out of most gold products. They only had 1 ounce. A guy came in. The only reason I know is because a guy came in asking. A guy came in and looking for gold, and they're like, we have, they have old sovereign gold, old British stuff, old foreign country stuff, but no U.S. Eagles. And they had 1 ounce buffalo, and the guy didn't want to pay the price of the buffalo. Buffalo was like $200 over spot, the going rate or something like that. Didn't want to pay it. He's like, he'll wait for the Eagles to get there, I guess, and but they had nothing else to offer in the 1 ounce size. Kind of surprising. And just in the discussions there, they were saying basically people have really lost their minds in buying gold over this week, since the news came out about, between the audit and everything else, I guess people are really paying attention, at least around here. The people that interact at the LCS. So I found that kind of interesting and kind of surprising that it had such an impact where they were basically cleaned out of what people were looking for. People didn't want to buy the, you know, whatever, foreign gold, francs or Swiss or all this. They have a few older coins there from the 30s and stuff, from foreign countries mostly, and nobody wanted to. The guy that in particular that came in didn't want to mess with it, so found that interesting. They said it's been like a crazy week. They had a fair amount of silver. Silver didn't seem to be impacted. It's mostly in the gold based upon the news. So to get into the news, as I talked about last week, the whole revaluation scheme, that's been floated out there, the repatriation, bringing all the gold back to the U.S., auditing auditing the gold reserves, and Fort Knox has been in the news now since Wednesday night when Trump was it Wednesday night he made the announcement. He's like, yeah, we're going to audit the gold, and Elon tweeted about it and everything. It's like it's all over the place now. It's like mainstream regular news. It's not just this side, these crazy people on YouTube, right? So that is going on, and I've been thinking through this, what Trump is really doing, or what's his agenda for auditing the Fed, right? He's not going to, we're talking about professionals here, right? He's not going to say we're going to audit the Fed thinking that the Fort Knox and everything is short on the gold that they're looking for. That's just a fool's errand. You're setting yourself up for failure. Big Boss Man, he's not the type of guy to set himself up for failure, right? Or is he? I don't think so. He's smarter than that, and he wants to. They're using this as leverage for something, right? That's my thought. My thought is this is being leveraged for something down in the future, or this year or next year. And here it is. And somebody else has floated this a little bit. Not many people are talking about in this angle, but I did hear this somewhere else. It wasn't. It may have been Andy Schectman that made it as one of his options, because he's got like 4 different scenarios that could play out that he's talked about in these different interviews and his different presentations at that conference and stuff that I shared last week. That may have been where I kind of got the genesis of it. But what Trump's really doing is putting the USA in the strong position, knowing that we're going to show everybody we've got all the gold that we've said we've got, and there's probably going to be a little bit more. So there's been the talk of revaluation. If we have more gold and we revaluate and we have enough gold, we have even more than what we've said, tons more, not just, few hundred pounds, tons. If we have tons more than what it was advertised, it could make a difference, right? Especially in the revaluation. But in particular, it's a message to China, I think. If we go back to the theory presented last week, if it's not all the central banks colluding together to devalue currencies and ultimately move to central bank digital currency, that's all still in the works. But just in the, if Trump's being genuine and everything and all this stuff is moving forward, he's playing the game to put his administration in a strong position financially and economically against the rest of the world, because they've all been stocking gold like it's cool, right? For ever since 2020 at least. China to a little bit higher degree. Russia did a bunch back in the middle of 2015. But if they go into Fort Knox, they go into the Fed, they go into New York, Denver, these places where all this is stored, and they show, oh, we've got what we said. Oh, and here, guess what? Over here, we've got this other gold. So they've got all the gold they confiscated in 33 that's off the books. All the old U.S. coins, the pre-33 stuff, it's not refined in the way the Treasury gold is counted in the 100-ounce bars or 400-ounce bars or whatever it is. I think it's how all 100 ounces the way they do it. But it could be broken down in that manner. It's still an asset. It still could be counted at some point if you went and said, oh, we've got this, these coins, several million ounces in, pre-33 gold that we're going to melt down and refine and put into our treasury account to back our next move, whatever that next move is. Whether it's the revaluation, it adds to the revaluation, benefit of how that's leveraging against the debt or whatever. And also, legitimately, how much gold has, people talked about it, where it went. We talk about Iraq's gold, all these other countries' gold that got raided potentially. Libya supposedly had a bunch of gold that, because they were going to, do some kind of Africa-backed gold currency back in, 2010, 2012 timeframe. That's half the deal with the whole Benghazi thing, was people were hypothesizing about that. Not only the gun running, but so if we've confiscated the gold from all these places that we've had foreign adventures in, to put it in lack of a better way, foreign intervention, adventurism or foreign intervention. We could have some Syrian gold. We could have, Iraq, obviously. Who knows if the Kuwaitis paid us in a bunch of gold after the Gulf War? Maybe they made some payments that are off books. There's all kinds of scenarios that could play out, like, boom, oh, you thought we had 8,000 and some odd tons. Oh, guess what? We've got 3,000 extra tons just laying here that we've accumulated over the last 70, 80 years. German Nazi gold? Who knows? And that, to send a message to everybody, like, don't try to play our game against us. I could see, that's just kind of the way I think Trump wants to play things. He likes to be in the big dog on the block, right? And really playing the Trump card, for lack of a better word, because it's legit, throwing the Trump card out there of, boom, USA has all this gold. While he wants a weak currency, he wants to weaken the currency for certain financial reasons. They can initially show strength through the gold and then revalue it to devalue the currency. To follow on the thought from last week. So that's just some thoughts I've had with what's going on here. I don't think they would be all bragging about going into Fort Knox if they weren't 110% sure that it was going to be a success, because it would do devastating things to all of us if there was a severe lack of gold holdings in Fort Knox and other places. It would not go well for any of us in that scenario. And Trump doesn't want to go down like that, unless he's committed to being the fall guy, which I don't think he has been. So that's some thoughts there, YouTube. Maybe the U.S. government will get involved in silver again and start doing strategic stockpiling of shiny stuff like this again. But I just had that thought that, Trump's not the type to risk his legacy or certain things without significant confidence. And I think this play on auditing is a play for strength and to show the U.S. is still the top dog and put everybody else in line. So plan accordingly, YouTube. Do your own thing. Obviously, you got to figure out how you fit in the economic situation at hand. You can only evaluate to the information that's presented before us. None of us know the future, but continue to monitor. Do the things. Do all the things. Save up. Save up in real things. Beans, bullets, Band-Aids. Metal. All the things that you could be necessary, as well as something to lock your wealth up in something other than paper, cloth notes that are being digitized and out of existence, basically. So whatever the next shoe to drop is bad for the dollar either way, I think, in the long run. So whatever you're holding is going to have more value, whether it's seeds or whatever. It's all going to have high value compared to the dollar at the end of the day. So y'all be good, YouTube. Prep hard, pray hard. Lots of things going on, and live free.